Hi, I'm Eric Rodriguez with your Fort Cavazos Garrison Public Affairs Office. PCSing can be incredibly stressful. So today, we're going to talk in-processing and reception and how Fort Cavazos does a few things a little different. All that and more on today's Great Big Podcast. Welcome back to the Great Big Podcast. I'm Eric Rodriguez, and we're going to talk everything Installation Reception Center right now with my special guest.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Mihelic. I work for the Installation Reception Center. My position is the Center OIC. So basically, I'm in charge of all 5 of the in-processing teams that help soldiers integrate into the Great Place.
All right, ma'am. So Installation Reception Center, or IRC, that sounds a lot to me like the Copeland Center. Can you talk to me a little bit about exactly what your unit is and kind of the overall what you guys do?
So our history starts with the United States Army Garrison. We were 21st Replacement Detachment, and we eventually moved under the Headquarters and Headquarters Battalion under 3 Corps. And so the IRC now functions, as it did under USAG, as the initial integration for soldiers and their families into the Great Place.
Okay, that sounds really good. So not so much just Copeland Center, but any soldier coming to the installation, got to get integrated into a unit, got to go back into Army life or get into Army life. So you guys are the first people that they interact with.
Yes, sir.
All right. So what exactly does the IRC do for incoming personnel?
The IRC's main job is to basically make sure all soldiers are ready to deploy with their gaining unit commanders. So this could be administratively, paperwork-wise, pay-wise, right, getting pay set up, or making sure they are medically ready. So making sure they have all their immunizations, shots, anything medical, making sure they have dental work if they need it.
So I'm a brand new troop. I've never PCS before, coming straight out of basic training. What are some of the things that I need to make sure I have ready, or some things that I could probably do prior to the move over to Fort Cavazos? Something I could do either at my basic training station or on that small period in between leaving there and coming here.
The main thing we ask at the IRC is to have your orders in lead form. That's the first big step to get you through the door at the Fort Cavazos Installation Reception Center. If you don't have it, it's not a crazy big deal, right? We do have, systems in place where we can print off those things if you don't have it, but that I would say that's the first big step that we need soldiers to do.
Either I can download my own documentation off of IPSA, right? Mm-hmm. Or I could talk to my losing units S1. How many copies of whatever do I need?
We ask that you have at least one. We do make additional copies for the soldier, every single soldier that does sign in. So if you have one, great. If you have 5, fantastic.
So what are some of the new initiatives that you guys are doing within the reception community and at the reception center that have been implemented since the last time we were talking?
Since August of 2024, we've had a few changes, a few great changes. The first change happened in January of 2025. Our 3 Corps command team basically directed some changes that can help soldiers become more deployable for the gaining units here on Fort Cavazos. So Fort Cavazos has a high operational tempo. Soldiers and units are constantly going in and out the door. And so now we utilize the Deployment Readiness Center, and we have essentially our own dental clinic to help get after the medical and dental readiness for the new gaining soldiers.
Okay. That sounds like it's extremely useful, especially keeping everybody in the green, mm-hmm. right? There's this huge, newcomers brief every week on Thursdays. Can you tell me exactly what is a newcomer's brief and what can soldiers and those who attend expect to hear when they attend?
Soldiers can expect to get basically a question and answer brief and then a history brief about Fort Cavazos from the 3 Corps Commanding General. It's a unique opportunity. A lot of bases probably underutilized, but I know Fort Cavazos does really well about making sure if it's on Thursday, you're going to have a newcomer's brief ready to go. Soldiers can basically get all the information they need about the installation and community resources, whether it's a 3 Corps thing or if it's a United States Army Garrison entity. Any question they have is basically up for grabs, and you just get all the answers you need.
So it's not just the command team as far as the 3rd Corps commander and his command sergeant major. You're saying that other agencies are present at the newcomers brief to be able to answer the questions that soldiers may have?
The United States Army Garrison, they host the second half of the brief. And so all the agencies like Army Community Services, the USO, the Blood Bank, Education Center, the Housing, they all have a formal 1 to 2 minute portion to tell soldiers and their families what they offer.
And then I'm pretty sure afterward, they're able to still go around and talk to all the agencies one-on-one? Is that still happening?
Yep, that still happens.
That's fantastic. So who's allowed to go to the newcomers brief?
All the newcomers are allowed to go, and we do highly encourage spouses to go. So if we have a maximum attendance of soldiers, say we have 200 soldiers, 100 spouses, that's a fantastic turnout, because all soldiers aren't married.
Right.
But soldiers, families, and children are encouraged to attend. We do have free on-site childcare just for those who may need it.
All right, that sounds great, especially having the little kids. That's definitely a game changer, trying to work out schedules to make sure everybody can be around. Okay. Why is it important for dependents to attend like a newcomer's brief so that they can kind of see what's going on the installation?
I think it's important for spouses to come because soldiers are notorious for not passing down information that the spouses might need. And so when the spouses can see it with their own eyes, they can make those connections with other spouses, especially if you have a unit that's deploying, right? And you have these two spouses that can finally connect and like, oh, my husband's going. Now we can have that bond while they're deployed. So it's a place where spouses can connect and rely on each other for anything that they might need later down the road.
So that soldiers and families can be best prepared, either moving out of the schoolhouse to the installation or from one installation to the next. Can you walk us through what a typical process is like on either side of that coin?
So let's begin with out processing. Soldier coming from the schoolhouse, so that'll be your Fort Moores, your Fort Sills, your Fort Leonard Woods, your Fort Jacksons. You'll basically get a packet from your drill sergeant that says, don't open this. And we'll open it for you and we'll help you out. Mind you, if a soldier does have a family coming from the schoolhouse, you do want to make sure that you have your BAH form updated for those soldiers so you can actually bring your dependents here, get on-post or off-post housing, and then set up any medical care you might need for your dependents. For those coming from another installation that's non-TRADOC, starting with getting your orders first, that's your first big step. Make sure you have those actually in hand. Next, set up your transportation appointment. So this could be setting up any household goods or moving your car, getting it shipped here to Fort Cavazos. If you have dependents or children, I would make sure you have enough medication to get them through the move because it does take time to set up another appointment with your new provider. And if you're enrolled in EFMP, also make sure that your children's needs are going to be met at your new duty station. Within the 60-day window, make sure you start notifying your landlord about your upcoming move, making sure you turn off any utilities you might need in the next coming months. At 30 days, you'll get your PCS unit and installation clearance papers, and that's how you'll out-process the installation. And then make sure you have those orders in that lead form in hand. Within the last 48 hours, you'll get a stamp from your losing installation, and you'll be ready to in-process Fort Cavazos in between however much leave you want to take. So once you get here, you'll sign in, you'll have your orders and leave form in hand, and we will basically give you a start date. So we're on a rolling schedule. So if you sign in on a Tuesday, you can start on a Wednesday, you can start on a Thursday, Friday, Monday. We don't in-process danzas or training holidays. So if you sign in, a Thursday before a training holiday, you'll pick up again that next following Tuesday. Day one, you'll go through a series of briefs, and then you'll do your SMART voucher. This is to help set up all your travel entitlements and pay that you might have had while you were PCSing here to Fort Cavazos. Day two will be dental, so you'll get an exam if you need to. Day three will be at the Deployment Readiness Center, and you'll go through a level 1 SRP in preparation for any upcoming deployments. It kind of helps offset what the unit has to do before you get there. Day four, you'll go through another series of briefs. Basically, they're like community resources, so you'll have like ASAP, Education Center. They'll come brief you on what they provide to you. And then you'll do a sign out that afternoon at 13:30. And then on Thursdays, if you're in processing, you'll converge at the newcomers brief on Thursdays at Lone Star Conference Center, and then you'll get a brief from the 3 Corps Commanding General about more community and installation resources.
And then once it's all said and done, what does the last day of that in processing look like with you guys?
just a series of briefs, and you'll get a sign out by your sponsorship.
And then right out to the units.
Mm-hmm.
Through your experience being with the IRC, what are some of the issues you've seen with the incoming soldiers, and how have you guys been able to help correct that and steer it in the right direction?
Soldiers being unprepared, right? That's probably a big one. Understand it's a stressful time for anyone, even if someone who's moved probably 4 or 5 times. But just knowing what's available out there, right? Who to call, when to call, all of those issues are some things that we see with soldiers. We're really good at being reactive at the IRC, although we would prefer to be proactive. Once we get soldiers in the door, we're amazing at solving any issues that they might have. So if they have a marital status change en route, or it could be married, divorced, or widowed, any of those 3, we're great at starting pay, stopping pay, anything that might affect a soldier financially or anything like that. We're great at here.
I understand you keep touching on getting prepared before you leave to get here. Mm-hmm. So how could incoming soldiers correct those issues before they come to Fort Cavazos, especially if they don't know the right questions to ask when they're leaving, wherever they're leaving before they get here, like a first PCS?
Mm-hmm. I would say reach out to your sponsor if you're assigned one, for sure. If not, you could look at our website for sure. We do keep it up to date with all the relevant information that a new soldier might have, or even the Fort Cavazos website itself. I understand that's probably not the ideal answer, but it will require some digging from the soldier, right, to see what they might need to in-process and what they don't need to in-process.
You're in a unique position, being a part of the IRC, and then you had to go through the whole process yourself. From your own experience, how did what the IRC personnel do affect you, and how did it either help or hinder you during your in-processing to the installation?
It definitely helped me a lot. I say this IRC is probably one of the IRCs that does the most for soldiers and their families coming in. The newcomers brief was great. I get to sit through it and to basically just hear about all the community resources, right? Like, I finished my master's while I was here, but I knew where to go because I saw the education center when I was going through my installation and processing as well. So that's just an example, like a personal example.
Okay. Soldiers are generally matched up with a sponsor, right? Mm-hmm. And then they come here and say they make it, they get pulled in by you guys at the IRC, but they can't get a hold of their sponsors. Is there a way to get a hold of you guys in case there's a difficulty in that communication between the soldier and the sponsor?
Oh, of course. Our office is 24/7. If you want to call at 2 a.m., you can call at 2 a.m. We always have someone on duty to take those questions and always continuously in-process soldiers. And so they can reach us at 254-449-3976, and anyone will answer.
So we've covered a lot of different things that the different services and functions that the IRC provides. Is there anything we didn't touch on that you'd like to add?
I just encourage soldiers to be really proactive. Research where you're going, on and off post housing, look at your unit history, know where you're going unit-wise, and that's pretty much it.
I really appreciate your time, Lieutenant, and I'm so glad you got to share all that information with us. All right, folks, stay tuned after this message, and we'll be back with the Great Big Podcast.
This year marks 250 years of the United States Army in our service to the nation. To mark this incredible milestone, 3rd Armored Corps in Central Texas are hosting a celebration ball from 5 to 11 p.m. June 13th at the Killeen Civic and Conference Center.
The evening will include the history of the Army presented by the NCO Academy, the 1st Cavalry Division Band, an amazing meal, dancing, and so much more. Tickets are now available for purchase. You can visit the 3rd Armored Corps social media accounts, the 3rd Armored Corps public website, or pick up the latest issue of the Fort Cavazos Sentinel newspaper to scan the QR code to purchase your individual ticket or an entire table for 10 people.
We look forward to seeing you June 13th, 3rd Armored Corps, Central Texas, 205th Army Birthday Ball. Bands and Warriors, this will defend.
Welcome back to the Great Big Podcast, and we're going to talk about everything Green Company with our special guest from the 13th Armored Corps Sustainment Command,
Sergeant First Class Jonathan Hall.
Sergeant Hall. So the whole Green Company concept, new to me, probably new to a lot of other folks on the installation. Can you tell me a little bit about what exactly Green Company is and kind of the circumstances that led to its creation?
Absolutely. Green Company, we like to call it, it's the gateway to 13th. Everybody that comes to the 13th Armored Corps Sustainment Command, or ACSC, they end up coming through Green Company, and we take care of them. So soldiers will arrive on the installation per the installation's website and everything. They report to IRC. They stay with them until they're done with that, and then they don't just go straight to the unit. With 13th and with Green Company, we take a little bit of extra care, and we take care of them for a couple of weeks. It takes about 2 to 2.5 weeks, but we make sure that the soldier is 100% ready before we send them onto their unit.
So that sounds a lot to me like what I'm familiar with coming up in the early 2000s. It sounds a lot like a sponsorship program. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I can. Sponsorship program, it's an additional duty for most NCOs that get assigned that task. We are working with folks to help improve it. I've been working with them for about 2 years now. But what Green Company does, it does more than the sponsorship program would. So yes, we pick up the slack in some ways, but we also go well beyond what sponsorship would normally do. And on top of that, my cadre, the people that are assigned to Green Company, they're very well trained in how to take care of soldier issues. That's their bread and butter. That's their job.
Okay, so we're talking about taking care of some of the basic necessities for the troops, right? And we already know that PCSing, or even if it's just their first duty station, it comes with a lot of headaches. There's a lot of stuff that happens. So what are some of the other areas you cover that don't just go on with the standard PCS? Like, we know we're going to come and check in. We're gonna go through whatever briefings that are coming along, right? Every installation's got different policies and procedures, different commanders and stuff like that. But there are other things that are kind of specific to the units or specific to soldiers. You're touching on a little bit about the bread and butter and taking care of troops and their problems. Can you talk about that a little bit?
So yeah, we actually do a lot of family care. We talk to them about SFRG. We give them resources. I actually have partners from about 13 or 14 different entities on the installation that come in and stand in front of our people and have one-on-one conversations with them at times. So when they leave us, not only do they know that the Army has created resources for them to be able to utilize, but they know where to go find them. They know who it is, what that person looks like. They got the business card in their wallet. They know who to go see, whether it's a food bank, whether they got a problem with DEERS, whether they got a problem with insurance, TRICARE, family housing, housing office. They know where the commissary is. We actually even take all of our soldiers and we put them on a bus and we do an orientation route. We drive them around the entire 13th footprint. Hey, you are now here at this particular motor pool. Drop a pin. That's where it's at. I know coming up, I'd get onto an installation. I spend the first 6 months lost. I have no idea where anything is at. Oh, you mean I can go get help at this or that? Here, there's no one of that 6 months of being lost. Here, within a couple of weeks, they know all the answers to the test. We're just waiting for them to come up with a question.
So it sounds more like something we should have been, and probably a lot of people are doing, is just taking care of each other, taking care of new troops and kind of bringing them under the wing, mentoring, right? So can you talk to me about, I'm a new troop. I went through my entire in-processing schedule, the whole deal, as far as, centralized when I first arrived here. Now I'm assigned to the 13th, and I'm coming to Green Company. Can you kind of walk me through what that looks like?
Absolutely.
It's my first day.
So for starters, you're going to see my people before you get done with reception. So on day one of reception, when you're going through your processes with IRC, you're going to meet one of my cadre. If you belong to 13th, they're going to let us know. I'm going to send somebody over there. They're going to be there. They're there every day anyway. So that's what they do. And then when you're done with them, we're going to come pick you up. If you need a ride, we got you. You need to move your bags, we'll bring a pickup truck. If I got a whole bunch of you, I got a whole bus. We'll load up in it and we'll come on over to 13th, and then we will sit you down. One of the things that we do is we already ask a bunch of hard questions. Do you have any family issues? Do you have any transportation issues, money issues? How'd your PCS go? What other kind of stuff have you got going on? Have you gotten married since you've been here? A whole list of things that we ask them on the day we meet them. We take that criteria, we review it, and then we start customizing care if needed for that individual. So by the time they get to us, we're already processing the paperwork. We're pulling them up in IPSA. We're getting them taken care of. We're moving their numbers around. If it's a special case and they have to go on leave for emergency leave, paternity leave, or maternity leave, any of the above, we've already got it processed and ready when they get to us. It's easy to want to get your soldiers, bring them in, and throw them into the fight. And I think the reason sponsorship and everything has had such a hard time, for ages, that's what we did. We brought people in, we trained them, we deployed them. We brought them in, we trained them, we deployed them. I remember being in the Army before that was the cycle. I remember being in before 9/11. I remember being in when you showed up and an NCO took care of you. And it wasn't nice about it sometimes, but they actually brought you in and they showed you the ropes. They showed you where to get stuff taken care of. And I think we got in such a deployment mindset that now that we've taken a step back from that, how do we take a step forward in the other direction? And Green Company is the answer to that for 13th ACSC. So when a soldier arrives at IRC, they're just processing. When they get to us, they're processing and doing stuff. So it's a bit of a blend. One of those things, they come in, they do an ACFT. We're registering who all's got problems with deers, who all's got problems with their orders, who all's got problems with this, that, and the other. We're actually keeping a metrics list of all that stuff.
Okay.
We're collecting the kind of data that our command is going to send to General Kelly and Sergeant Major again, and they're going to be able to have those conversations on a whole nother level.
With the guys over at TRADOC and
to be able to really actually identify problems at their root, send it back to where it starts, and maybe get a few less cans kicked our way over time. But as long as they are getting kicked our way, we're going to keep collecting them.
So how long have you guys been collecting that data?
That actually started with my most recent command change. I'd say we've probably really been collecting data probably for about the last 6 months. But the data we collect changes. It gets added to. We figure out what's needed. Like you said, as things change, as we identify problems, this is one of the ways that we look to collect information on those problems and figure out just how far it goes.
So you guys have been collecting this kind of data for roughly 6 months, you said? Have any of those conversations happened already? Has any of that data gotten back to...
If they do, it'll be well and far beyond my my lane. My job right now is to say, hey, look, I've got a problem. As an NCO, I can identify that. Hey, look, I've collected information on the problem. As an NCO, I can do that. But as far as fixing some of it, sometimes I have to send that to somebody that's got a little bit wider lane than I do. So the soldiers that come into Green Company, that's my lane. I'm going to fix that problem for that person. But we would love to see things get fixed on a broader level for the U.S. Army, and we're trying to help provide the kind of empirical data that they need to make that happen.
Where did the idea for Green Company come from?
Green Company is in response to the People First initiative that happened in the spring of 2021, which was in response to the Mothers and Commanders of Action initiative. So there was a lot of things that happened, drew a lot of bad publicity, but at the same time it highlighted some issues, and they wanted to try and see where we could start fixing it. So Green Company is one of the responses to that, and through hand-selected cadre members and leadership, we've actually not only answered that problem, but we've also taken it a lot further to where now it is a valuable portion of what 13th ACSC is.
So how do you guys go about selecting the cadre?
Our cadre are actually hand-selected and interviewed by the other cadre. You want to know that when you pass the torch for something, you're going to pass it to somebody that's going to carry it on down the way. You don't want somebody that just likes to come to work or doesn't like to come to work. They're just there for the paycheck. We're looking for the stewards of the profession. We're looking for folks that truly enjoy taking care of soldiers. I'm looking for NCOs that may not have gotten taken care of and know what that feels like. So we hand select our cadre, and they come into us, and we teach them how to take care of soldiers, how to fix soldier issues. I'll take any Sergeant E5, staff sergeant in my crew, and pit them against just about anybody else on installation when it comes to fixing pay issues, deers issues, housing issues, food issues, money issues. This is what they do, and they really like doing it.
That's really, really awesome to know that you guys are hand-selecting cadre who are familiar with the processes and are looking to go ahead and take care of the next guy so that the next troop does the same thing for the one after that. So you touch upon, not just taking care of the regular everyday stuff. You guys talk about actually getting to know these new guys coming in. Can you talk to me about some of the success stories you guys might have through this process? Can you give any examples offhand of maybe a few problems that popped up going through the vetting process that you're talking about with these new troops and how you guys dealt with that and what ended up afterwards?
Absolutely. And I'm not going to name any names. We had a soldier that came in and Hurricane Helena was happening. His home back home got messed up. So there was insurance to deal with that. His civilian job previous to joining the Army, he was actually making more money. So now he's making less, but the benefits are better. But he's still spending like he was before. His home life was blended family, multiple kids, different wives, different exes. So there was a whole lot of stuff to sort out. Bless his heart, he wanted to take care of his family, so he signed a lease sight unseen and really got burned on the deal. Our cadre went to work, and we went to work in full force. So we went in there, we got the lease canceled, we got him in front of some people that could explain the child support, what he needs to do as a father now that he's in the Army and has a higher set of moral code, a higher set of moral values that he needs to adhere to. We got him some time to go take care of things back home. By the time we got done with him, it took us a little longer than the 2 weeks. We don't just pat him on the head and send him down the road. A lot of folks, a soldier has an issue, and they'll say, your unit will take care of it when you get there. Your unit will take care of it when you get there.
I've heard that a few times.
They just keep kicking the can down the road.
Right.
At Green Company, we collect cans. We don't send problems to somebody else. We send soldiers that are ready. So if we have to hold somebody and give them that individual care before their life is sorted out to a point where they can focus on the job at hand, on the training that they need to do and the mission that 13th has for them, then we hold them. And it's individually based. We have a program, we have a set schedule, but if somebody needs to come out of that, we're not afraid to do it because each individual soldier is a person, and we take care of that person, get them back in the uniform, get them sorted out, and send them on.
All right. So you also mentioned working with other organizations, and tell me a little bit about how you guys came to the conclusion that you needed to network outside of your internal structure, and how did you guys go about fostering those relationships to bring them in to work together with you guys and your objective?
Absolutely. So it's not uncommon we had a few relationships before I got there, and then I really got to start talking to my command team, and we started working with them, and we really started pulling more in. Nobody, I'll talk good about Green Company all day long, but I may not talk good about another section or organization. There's nobody better to speak on those programs than the people that are working in them. So not only do I want the soldiers to know that the program exists, it needs to go beyond just an informational brief. I bring those people in. So for instance, the Army Wellness Center, they come in and they teach sleep readiness and nutrition to all of our soldiers. It's a 2-hour-long block, but they actually enjoy it. They have a lot of fun with it. It's not all death by PowerPoint. We try to get away from as much of that as possible. But in today's society, something we didn't have a problem with. We always had a bedtime. We went to bed, we got up, we went to school and everything else. But nowadays, kids are so entertained by video games and their cell phones and social media that those kids turn into young soldiers and they still have those bad habits. I can't tell you how many times I've looked at a soldier fresh in the morning and they're just absolutely half asleep. I used to, if it was back in the day, it'd be because they'd had a hard night out with the buddies.
Right.
That's not the case anymore. It's because they're alone in their room playing a video game all night long, and then it's time to go to formation. They didn't realize it. So we actually teach sleep readiness. It's all these societal issues, personal issues, financial issues that come in. We teach the actual answers. So we have Army Wellness Center that comes in and works with us. We have FAP, we have MFLAC, we have our SHARP and EO programs that are organic to 13th, but those people actually come and stand in front of and see our people. We actually take our people to CIF. We don't just send them over there lost in the sauce. We make sure our cadre goes over there. They inspect the gear with them as they get it to make sure they're getting quality gear and show them how to put it together to 13 standards. I also have the Education Center comes in. A lot of soldiers know that they signed up for education benefits. I'm not going to lie, I did too. It was years before I figured out how it actually worked.
How to use it.
I know the Army's going to pay for my school, but what do I do with
Right.
it, you know? So we actually have the Education Center come in. So within the first 2 weeks of them getting to 13th ACSC, they already know they've got college benefits. We show them how to put them to work, how to use them, because we encourage it. This is what they signed up for nowadays. Okay, let's make it accessible to them. Let's show them how to access it and get to it and make it work. I know for myself, coming into a unit, sometimes you never knew exactly what the overall unit mission is. We actually have our G3 come in and brief our soldiers to show them this is the part you play in the Army's mission, because this is what 13th does for the Army. So it's wonderful to be able to see that. It lets them get a sense of accomplishment and belonging. You live in a society of young people that want to know why. We try to answer all the whys that we can up front, because the NCO on the line may not have time to do it right then and there.
Right.
So again, by the time they get there, they know, hey, I know I'm going to do this job because it affects this over here, and that's what the Army needs me to do, and that's what I signed up to do.
I'm from a little bit of an older Army. You've been around for a while. So you've seen what it's like for troops to come into a unit and not have something like this program available to them. And you're obviously there with this program. Can you talk to me about some of the differences you've seen from the troops in comparison, or comparing like a troop that's gone through, I'd say, I don't want to say a traditional in processing, but a more typical in processing as compared to what you guys are providing? Do you see a difference in the morale, the sense of accomplishment when they're out there putting in the work and the efforts that they're putting in for the daily missions, things like that?
Absolutely. So I'll use myself as an example. I actually got to Fort Cavazos right before Green Company started, so I didn't get the benefit of going through it. It was a year and a half before I actually finished my in-processing.
A year and a half.
A year and a half. Green Company was already working for a year.
Okay.
And they were in processing people in 2 to 3 weeks, and I was still out there just flapping in the wind. I was a senior staff sergeant, but they just expected you to automatically show up and know where everything is and know what you got to do. You PCS, 5, 8, 10 times in a career?
Something like that, yeah.
I got to do something 20 or 30 times before I go to that. So I may not ever get good at PCSing, but
Right.
At least I get used to it over time. So, yeah, even my own situation. Now these soldiers come in, and I look at what kind of support I didn't have, and we've turned around and filled that gap and make sure that each one of them does it. Now, at the end of their time with us at Green Company, we actually do our patching ceremony. So they get to wear the 13th patch after they've earned it. And they earn it by going through Green Company and becoming what we need them to be and being ready to go do the 13th mission. One of the questions I love asking our new members of 13th is, how does this compare to your previous PCS experience? Without a doubt, I've always had everybody say it's much better. I ask them, how much anxiety did you have finding out you was coming to Fort Cavazos? I get a lot of hands raised up.
Right.
Does Green Company remove that anxiety? A lot of hands go up. Yes, we do. Do you feel like we took a little bit of the sting out of it? Do you feel like you're ready to go and meet your unit and do your job? A lot of hands go up. Yes. I've only ever had one, in the 2 years I've been here, I've had one that said it was a waste of time. And it's because he had done a year in Korea and came back, and it was the second time through Green Company. So I was like, man, if I'd have known that right off, I might have just let you slide by, but that's not how it goes.
Right.
Things change, so you're going to go right back through, but that's okay. He still learned something, and he'd come up and shook my hand afterwards and had a good joke about it. But, yeah, we provide a service that the soldiers themselves appreciate. And not only that, but they actually retain a lot of the knowledge. We do a culminating event at the end with a bit of a ruck march, basically like an old Styx lanes, where we have different challenges, and then they also have knowledge-based pieces during each of the challenges.
Okay.
And so we actually take everything that they've learned over the last 2 weeks, we pile it all up into one big event, and then they go through, they do it, they get done, they go have breakfast with their families, and then when we bring them back that afternoon, we graduate them, patch them, then we introduce them in person to their unit.
That sounds really awesome. So it seems like you guys took something that wasn't there, created this whole process to help these troops better integrate into your unit, better to integrate to the post here at Fort Cavazos. It sounds like y'all are being very proactive and trying to figure out what's needed, and what's better. So can you talk about some of the things you guys have identified maybe that you're working on to make the process better than it is now?
So the Army uses an AAR, right? Our after action review for everything that we do. And our job is to learn from those. And I know you as well as I, we've probably both done AARs, rolled our eyes, and went on about our day.
One or two?
Couple of them. We actually sit down, we not only use AARs, we do our AARs with the soldiers. They do it anonymously. They get an opportunity to write down. If they say Sergeant Hall is ugly, they can put it on there. If they say Sergeant Hall did a great job, they can put it on there. They can name me by name. We encourage it. Okay, it's a hard look. We actually face our own problems as cadre, and that's what keeps us honest. So we work, and if we start seeing a trend, because we do it for every single one, if we start seeing a trend of something wrong, then we actually go in, see how we need to fix it, and go from there. We also see other things, too, that happen in the community. It doesn't just have to be a Green Company. We had a car dealership recently that was actually driving around on base, picking up people that were hitchhiking and walking to the PX, and then getting them into loans they couldn't afford. We stopped it. We're talking to the soldiers every day. We're seeing and listening and hearing the problems that they have, and we are proactive in trying to fix those problems. So we fix what comes up. If there's something that looks like it needs to be changed, we send it up the chain of command. We at Green Company have a direct line with General Kelly, so if there's something that needs to be changed, my commander can give him a call, and it works out great because we're improving not only 13th and Green Company, but Fort Cavazos as a whole.
Having a buy-in from your top commander is definitely a positive.
It is.
Sergeant Hall, I've covered all my questions. Is there anything you would like to add in about Green Company that we haven't covered?
I think we could sit here all day, and I'll never cover the amount of amazing work that my cadre do. I can never cover how much I appreciate what it is that 13th's doing for its soldiers. I'm at the end of my career. This gives me an opportunity to give something back and to hang my hat up on a high note. I'm really proud of the program that we do. I think that it makes things better for the units. Some of them fuss that we hang on to their soldiers for an extra 2 weeks, but I also know from personal experience that it would take them a lot longer than that to solve these soldiers' issues. So by the time they get somebody from us, they're taken care of. And it goes even further than that. You go all the way back to the beginning, and you go back to the mothers and commanders. You go back to the People First Initiative. You go back to the fact that parents out there trust the United States Army with their sons and daughters. It's our job to take care of them. It's our job to make sure that that trust isn't misplaced. When they come to 13th, we make sure that they're taken care of. When they come to 13th, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that they're ready to start this new chapter in their life.
So can you tell me a little bit about General Kelly's thoughts about the program that you guys are running with Green Company when he showed up here to Fort Cavazos?
I think he was actually quite excited to see that his program had beat him here. He had come up with the idea of it previously, and back when this program got started for 13th ACSC, it was with General Reagan, and he had actually stolen the idea from a younger Colonel Kelly at the time.
Okay.
So here we are a couple of commanding generals later, and General Kelly now comes in, and he's like, I know that program. I started that.
That's mine.
That's mine. So it is really nice to have not only buy-in, but a personal interest from your commander and the program itself. And I think that's one of the reasons we're so successful. It's truly what the work he did wherever he was at back then, beat him here. It's spreading far wide, but now he has another chance to work with it, and he's got a team of people that appreciate it and are dedicated to it, and we're really making it grow and become even farther than I think what he originally thought of, but we're truly doing some good work for the soldiers.
Sergeant Hall, I really appreciate you taking out the time to be here. I know you've got a lot of things going on over at Green Company, taking care of those new guys. So I'm not going to take up any more of your day. I really appreciate you taking the time to tell us about what you guys do.
Not a problem. I really appreciate you guys having us over. We're proud of the program. We look forward to all the soldiers we get, and we look forward to working with them. And we appreciate it very much that you guys actually see what we're doing and see how good it works for soldiers.
All right. And we'll be right back on the Great Big Podcast after this message.
Hello, Team Cavazos. I'm Command Sergeant Major John McDwyer, Command Sergeant Major of the 3rd Armored Corps in Fort Cavazos. I want to let you know about an important opportunity, the Army's annual Housing Tenant Satisfaction Survey.
And I'm Chris Albus, the Project Director for Cavalry Family Housing. The survey is open now through May 1st, and it's your chance to share honest feedback about your housing experience here on post.
This survey helps us understand what's going well and where we can do better. It's voluntary and confidential, and your voice truly matters.
Plus, there's a small incentive. Residents who complete the survey will be entered for a chance to win a $50 gift card, just our way of saying thank you for your time.
Filling it out is quick and easy. Look for an email from the email address on this screen, armyhousingsurvey@celassociates.com, or check your text message if you've opted in for text alerts.
Your feedback guides how we prioritize improvements and allocate resources. We take it seriously because quality of life for our soldiers and their families is our top priority.
So please, take a few minutes and complete the survey before May 1st. If you have any questions, contact the Fort Cavazos Army Housing Office at 254-288-9305.
Thanks again. We appreciate your time and your voice.
Hey everyone, I'm Eric Franklin with your Garrison Public Affairs.
And I'm Janice Wright with Garrison Public Affairs.
And man, let me tell you, this year is going by fast because Easter was just yesterday. Now it's almost it's almost May. I'm just telling you, the year is going by fast.
We're almost halfway through it. That's absolutely crazy to me.
I have a thing at my desk. It's either at home or in the work desk over there. But it says January, February, March, and it takes forever. And then it's just April, June, July, August, September. Like that's how fast it seems like it's going this year.
That sounds absolutely accurate.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You know, I've been out of the office for the past couple of months because I had the baby, Emerson. She actually also turned 3 months. The other day, this past weekend. So
she's beautiful.
Oh, she has so much fun. I'll show you some pictures from this weekend. But you know, what traveling soldiers have you got a chance to go to this year?
You know me, I'm a social butterfly.
Yeah,
I get around. But I have been loving the Domain, and quite a few of my traveling soldiers have been with my friends at the Domain, the restaurants.
Yeah,
I actually got to visit the Austin Museum of Ice Cream.
That is pretty cool.
It was a little light on museum for me. I was expecting more. I actually was like maybe expecting a tutorial on how to make a simple ice cream, but it was IG worthy.
But have you had a chance to go like the Domain? See, here's the thing that people don't realize. You guys out there don't realize about the Domain, that there's the main part where all the big stores and stuff are, but then if you travel down a little bit, there's a bunch of like little restaurants, like little pubs and just like little eateries, all kinds of stuff. Just once you get off those main roads and you start walking around, it's an amazing thing. And here's another true story. When I first moved back to Texas, I was gonna live down in Austin, and I had a culture shock, and I was gonna live at the Domain, and I was gonna live in some apartments on top of some apartments that are over there. And when I saw how much it was, I said, no, thank you. Someone does. I know people do. It's not for me, but I said no. And so hence why I live in Killeen, and I love it. I think it was the best choice of my life. I think I would have had a lot of fun living in Austin, but I don't think I would have had a lot of money living in Austin. So
you dodged 2 bullets.
Yeah.
Budget and commute.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. Well, what else has been going on? That's really it. You know, we have the summer's coming up, and there's so much stuff coming up this summer. And we have Safety Day because it never fails every year. Simple stuff people forget to do. And I think it's great that we have Safety Day here so we can get those soldiers and those Department of the Army civilians and family members to know, hey, this is what safe looks like. This is some little helpful reminders on keeping yourself safe at home.
I love how it's a very serious subject, but they make it very fun and lighthearted with all of the interactive displays and the things you can do and the information you can get, food, music. Yeah. I mean, you can't go wrong with those 2 things. But yeah, there's going to be a lot.
Yeah, I can't wait. So what I also heard was you do a word of the day. So before we get out of here, because I was about to go and then it clicked in my head. I was like, she did a word of the day. So let me hear your word of the day.
Well, I do a word on Mondays to get my week started off on the right foot. So with everything that I think that our office has been going through, my word for this week is flexibility.
Flexibility.
Yes, because I think you have to have that in order to, be able to accommodate the changes that we're going through and bounce back and still be on it.
Okay.
Because we do great things.
Yeah. Okay.
So what's
Hold on.
yours?
And so that's amazing. Being flexible, that's amazing. I think my thing that I would have to say is always be awesome. Because I think so many times people get down on themselves because they do, especially for me, I do so much stuff, be it at home, at work, and sometimes I fail or it doesn't go the way I want. And I think that I feel bad about it, but I have to remember I'm still awesome. Like even awesome people mess up. So I think it's my word for this week is going to be awesome. Always be awesome. Even if it's bad, you're awesome still.
I love that. So you guys, for this week, going forward, don't forget to be flexible.
And don't forget to be awesome. So we like to thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next week on the Great Big Podcast.
Bye.